to introduce the topic by going through a few basics of cardiovascular system and the health itself. Usually we speak about support because our supplements help to support the health of the system. And so the cardiovascular system is what probably in former days we would speak of, maybe in our biology classes, as the blood circulatory system. So the two terms mean thing. And this is blood vessels, heart, together with the bone marrow where the blood is made, and organs like the spleen and so on, which play some role in the system. But the main parts of the system are the blood, which is a fluid with different things in it, as well as the blood vessels through which the blood flows, and the heart. The heart is a muscular pump. So many of us, I think, here in Africa are familiar with pumps. Some of us use pumps for pumping water out of wells or out of boreholes and so on. So the heart is a kind of pump that is made of muscle, and it pumps blood continuously day and night through blood vessels in order to reach all the tissues of the body throughout our lifetime. So the function of a circulatory system is to provide a transport system for the body to be able to supply all of the tissues in it with the nutrients and other supplies that they need, things like oxygen and so on, but also to carry out cellular byproducts away so that they can be eliminated. So it's an excellently designed transport system, and it is able to do all these things, ensuring that each and every part of our body has got is connected to the supply system or the transport system. So the blood vessels, for that reason, the blood vessels themselves form an intensive network of elastic tubes and tubules. So tubules are small tubes through which the blood travels to our tissues. We have got two general types. They are the arteries, which carry blood which has just been pumped from the heart under pressure. And then we have got the veins, which carry blood from the tissues back to the heart. Of course, the system is all connected, so the arteries eventually hand over in different parts of it too, and the arteries, when they start, they are big, and then they get smaller and smaller as they branch more and more in the network. And the veins start out very small and eventually join up till they become the big veins as they enter the heart. So the pumping heart action of the heart ensures the blood is actually under pressure in the arteries. So maybe if you grew up in farming communities as I did, you may have had an opportunity to see what happens when an artery is pierced. The blood shoots out in a jet because it is under high pressure from the heart. Sorry. As you probably might have observed, some challenges, but I think we can go on. I was speaking about, Pascal, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So I was speaking about the pumping action of the heart. So this ensures that the blood in the arteries is under pressure because this blood has to be sent far from the heart. Maybe think about all the way to our toes, all the way to our head, our fingers, and all over. So that blood has to be under pressure. When we speak about blood pressure, what we are speaking about is the pressure exerted by circulating blood on the walls of the arteries when the heart is beating and in between the beats. So there's a normal range of blood pressure, which is usually 120/80. If maybe you have ever had a need to look at it for yourself, maybe after being checked. Outside, if we go above 130/90, then that's considered to be too high. And if we go below 90/60, that is too low. So as you can see, the range, the normal range is quite narrow. And I think you've heard when we are speaking about other systems, the body systems tend to be held under very narrow ranges. And outside of that narrow range, then we are going towards what we would refer to as abnormal. So the beating rhythm of the heart is governed by electrical signals. So that rhythm that we hear of heartbeat is actually governed by electrical signals from a group of cells that is within the heart itself. They act as pacemakers. They govern how the heart is beat. The speed of it can be changed by signals from the brain. So, for example, if you get a fright, maybe you are being chased by a dog, then your heartbeat is the pace at which your heart is beating is going to rise because signals are being sent from the brain to the pacemaker cells to speed things up. Then blood from the tissues, as I said, is pushed back to the heart, not by a pumping action of the heart, but actually by the muscles. So, for example, blood from our legs will be pumped up by the leg muscles, such as the calf muscle, the big muscle in our leg. The blood from the head and the neck will flow down under gravity. And also veins, which are the ones through which blood travels back to the heart, usually have a one-way valve to prevent the blood from flowing back down, or in the case of the legs, or back up in the case of the head. Let us say if you are maybe doing a headstand. So those are the things I wanted to just mention to familiarize ourselves with a few points about the heart and the way it acts, and also the blood vessels. So now let us turn our attention to some issues that we may find affecting our hearts. And these are problematic issues, is what we are talking about. You will find that maybe you are new in the business, but as time goes on, people will come to you with issues to do with the heart or the blood pressure or the blood vessels. And this is because one of the parts of our health that is highly affected by lifestyle diseases is the cardiovascular system or the blood circulatory system. So we look at a few of them. I think let's look at 3 or maybe 4. The first one is what is referred to as heart failure. Heart failure does not mean that the heart has failed. What it means is that the ability of the heart to pump blood efficiently at the correct pressure, that normal pressure that I've just mentioned, has diminished. So you find that the heart is actually, it's not that it has stopped beating, it is that it is no longer beating as efficiently as it should. And that means that certain parts of our bodies may actually not be getting the blood supply at the pressure and the volume and the speed that is required. So that is what is meant by heart failure, simply that it is the heart is no longer pumping efficiently. The next issue would be what we call a heart attack, which means that the blood flow to the heart has actually been interrupted. So a heart attack does not mean your heart has attacked you. It means that the blood flow to the heart has been out, that just as the heart pumps blood to supply tissues all over our body, it also pumps to supply itself. If for one reason or another, blood vessels supplying the heart is blocked, then of course now you have a problem within the pump itself. And that is what is happening in a heart attack. The blockage could be due to maybe a clot moving around or has just formed. And this means that the heart muscle is now not getting the oxygen and the nutrients that it requires. So the thing with heart attacks is that sometimes there might be no symptoms, and sometimes there can be severe symptoms as well. So it's dependent. It doesn't always mean something dramatic happens. Because when we watch on TV, we see dramatic heart attack events, and we don't realize that sometimes a heart attack might actually show no symptoms, which is quite dangerous because it means we might be having a blockage that is progressively getting worse. Then the third issue I wanted to mention is what is referred. So a cardiac arrest is when the heart suddenly stops beating. This can be linked to a malfunction in those electrical impulses that I mentioned that come from those pacemaker cells. So remember, the pacemaker cells are in charge of the rhythm of the heart beating. They're the ones who regulate it. And if there's a problem with them for one reason or another, then the heart is going to be beating erratically. We'll point that out again further down in the topic of today. So this is why sometimes you hear that someone is having a pacemaker, an artificial pacemaker being inserted in their system in order to do that work, because possibly these pacemaker cells, which were originally there, are not functioning properly, and so an artificial one has to be put in. Next point now I want to turn our attention to is chronic blood pressure. But just to repeat that normal blood pressure is within a very narrow range, not far above 120/80 and also not too far below it. Heightened blood pressure is usually a normal part of our response to stress and certain stressful events. So where you can think about when something stressful has happened to you, you notice that beating faster and your blood pressure will go up. During periods of stress, what happens is that the body produces hormones. I think we have when we have been speaking about the metabolism and other systems of the body, we have spoken regularly about hormones, which are chemical signals that the body produces to signal different things. So when we are under stress, whether it's a short-term stress or a chronic stress, we produce hormones which signal the need for an increase in blood pressure. The reason for this is that our body understands that if there's a stressor, we are going to need to swing into action to solve that stress situation. And any high action blood supply and nutrients and more oxygen and the removal of carbon dioxide. So that is why the hormones related to stress have that work of signaling to the heart to beat faster and increase the speed and the volume of blood flow. But once the stress has been resolved, those hormones dissipate and the blood pressure should return to normal. So that is under normal conditions. However, we have what we have, I think, mentioned many times before, what we call chronic situations. So for example, if you have a chronic stress situation where you keep on getting stressed over and over again, then these hormones do not properly dissipate, and therefore your blood pressure might remain chronically high. So it is not only stress that can lead to chronic high blood pressure. People also have a familial tendency to develop high blood pressure, also linked to other things. You'll remember when we were speaking about metabolic health a few weeks ago, we mentioned that chronic high blood pressure is one of the first signs that tells us that we have insulin resistance, that our sugar metabolism is not working well. So that can be a reason. Certain ethnicities, for example, Africans, tend to develop chronic high blood pressure at an earlier age than other ethnicities. Then also, as we grow older, from the age of around 65 and above, we may notice that our blood pressure starts being chronically high, not going up and then coming back down to normal, but remaining heightened. Certain illnesses also can lead to chronic high blood pressure. I've already mentioned insulin resistance, but also chronic kidney disease can be a contributor. Type 2 diabetes can be a contributor. Obesity can also be a contributor. And also an unhealthy lifestyle can be a contributor. So if we are sedentary, if we're using certain things like alcohol, and also more and more if we are eating unhealthy foods made with seed oils. So if that forms a big part of our diet, then we can also develop high blood pressure, and that is because they tend to contribute to the narrowing of our blood vessels. Our blood and the heart has to work very hard. Unfortunately, when we are maybe overusing the wrong types of food or substances, it can lead to damage to the inner walls of the blood vessels. And those in the formation of substances that are formed then a thick layer can be laid, and what will happen is that that thick layer on the inside of the blood vessels, the result of which will mean that the heart is going to have to work very hard, much harder, in order to pump blood through those narrowed blood vessels. Next, I think I want to mention one more point about insulin resistance. Maybe you have come across the term metabolic syndrome. So metabolic syndrome is a group of issues that are linked to insulin resistance once again. And these issues tend to give rise to heart diseases. So when you hear of someone with a heart disease, it will probably have started as insulin resistance, which then developed in metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is characterized by an enlarged abdomen. It is characterized by high blood pressure. It is characterized by a fatty liver and also by kidney issues. So those are some of the issues that form that cluster that is referred to as metabolic syndrome. But once again, just remember, because it's not long ago that we spoke about insulin resistance, that this is the initiating situation that leads to all these issues: high blood pressure, stroke, chronic kidney disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or alcoholic fatty liver disease. All these can the origin of heart diseases. Other things will contribute, as I've said. It could be an age-related, that initially, when we are young, our blood vessels are quite flexible. But as we grow older, into our elder years, we find that they lose their elasticity, which means that the heart starts working, pumping harder, and that means now I want to turn my attention to a health. That is, what are the things that we can do in our lifestyle to support the health of our cardiovascular system? So although I said a healthy heart, the heart always will link it with the blood vessels and the blood flowing within them. Points here to bring: nutritious, minimally processed food. So we should When we are looking at carbohydrates, they should be rich in grain that has not been processed, maybe just cooked, or it could be, if it's a flour, it should be flour that is made of the whole grain. But once start over processing the carbohydrates, then we're in the danger of insulin resistance. We should also include healthy fats in our diet. Healthy fats will be from fruits like coconuts and avocados, from different types of nuts that maybe you can choose the type that is available in your area. And then, of course, we avoid the unhealthy fats. Of course, a lot of times the unhealthy fats are the ones which we can afford. And for that reason, my advice is usually try not to reuse the fats, because sometimes, for example, in fast food chains, they can use the same fat over and over again, heating it and maybe cooking in it, keeping it, and then doing that over and over again. Try as much as possible to avoid doing that, because the more frequently the fat is heated, the more unhealthy it becomes. So if you are using these unhealthy fats because they are more within your price range, try to avoid reusing them. So for example, on the East African side, if maybe you are using these oils to fry something like mandazi, then maybe the next time just use them to cook so that they are used up and you don't repeat using them over and over again, because they become more and more problematic as you reuse them. Then the next item on our list of cardiovascular health lifestyle will be trying to ensure that you include plenty of activity in your lifestyle. You can do something like you have a 30-minute walk every day, preferably after your main meal. You can exercise, especially, let's say, exercises that involve the legs, like walking and swimming, running, and so on. These ones are good because remember we said that the muscles contribute to returning the blood from the lower parts of the body back to the heart. And that way, if you have a familial tendency to water retention or to varicose veins, then these exercises are also going to help. In addition to that, exercise helps to with normalizing blood sugar. That is helping with avoiding insulin resistance. Exercise also is one way of coping with stress, and also, of course, in maintaining a healthy body weight. Then another point of lifestyle will be, as much as possible, safeguard your sleeping time. We need between 7 and 8 hours of good sleep every night. This helps with resolving stress and maintaining good health. Another is to reduce harmful habits or eliminate them altogether. So things like smoking, frequently eating junk food, excessive use of alcohol, and a sedentary lifestyle. All these are things that we should change if they are part of our lifestyle, because they are going to give us problems to do with our cardiovascular system and other metabolic problems as well, as I think we have mentioned previously. Then, of course, try to resolve any stressors. If you cannot resolve them, find positive ways of coping with them, so that you can either eliminate the stressor or find ways in which to live with it in a way that does not bring severe harm. Then now let us look at some of the products that we can recommend for a healthy heart life supplementation. The first will be omega-3 plus, which prevents the formation of clots and plaque that might adhere to the inner surface of the blood vessels. And that way, that omega-3 plus will contribute to normalizing the blood pressure. The second one will be lipotropic adjuncts, a combination of nutrients that prevents accumulation of harmful fats in the blood, and thereby also preventing plaque formation and preventing problems like atherosclerosis and so on. The third product will be garlic allium complex, which prevents the formation of hormone signals that constrict blood vessels. So sometimes our blood vessels can constrict in response to certain hormones. And sometimes this is necessary, for example, if we are under some kind of stress, that the blood vessels are constricting. But this should not be a permanent situation. So garlic allium helps to keep the hormones that signal constriction of blood vessels normalized. Then we have the fourth item will be coenzyme Q10, which supports the efficiency of the heartbeat and thus reduces incidences of heart failure. So coenzyme Q10 is supportive of the heart itself. Then we have magnesium complex. So magnesium complex helps to regulate heartbeat rhythm and so works against irregular heartbeat. We'll see a few, maybe in the Q&A, because I see the time is running short, but we'll see in the Q&A some of these points about issues to do with the heart. Then finally, we have got flavonoid complex. You can alternatively use vitamin C or flavonoid complex, because flavonoid complex does contain some vitamin C and they work well hand in hand. These are very useful for repairing damaged tissue, including the blood vessels that have been damaged by high blood pressure. So those are the supplements that I would recommend. There are 6 of them, but my advice would be, for example, if you have got a familial history of high blood pressure and other heart issues, even if you're not taking all 6 at the same time, something like omega-3 plus is very important for various health. So you can do that regularly for yourself. And then magnesium is another one that is important for various issues, including our metabolism. So you can make magnesium and omega-3 your regular part of your regular supplementation with 3NN. And then from time to time, you can put in lipotropic adjunct, and other times you can put garlic allium complex. If you have got heart issues, you can also once in a while buy a bottle of coenzyme Q10. So the thing is that, and then something like vitamin C and flavonoid complex are also important in different types of health issues, which include things like resisting respiratory diseases, like in the flu season. We usually should, for example, for us in our house, when we reach March and April, we start regularly using vitamin C or flavonoid complex to help us as we approach the cold season, when viral infections become more common. And so some of these supplements can form part of your regular supplementation, whereas others you can use from time to time. And here, more especially if you have got a familial history of cardiovascular issues. Let's see if there's something else I wanted. So I will mention what we can use specifically to target high blood pressure. You will remember that I mentioned that blood pressure is a warning sign. Unfortunately, these days, when we develop high blood pressure, what happens is that we go to the doctor, we are put on medication, and we keep on refilling the same medication month after month until the problem escalates into either type 2 diabetes, or it escalates into heart failure or a stroke. So we should look at our high blood pressure as a serious warning signal that something has started going wrong. So react by cleaning up your diet, resolving your stressors, and increasing activity in your lifestyle. Then with high blood pressure, start on omega-3 plus, lipotropic adjunct, and garlic allium complex. You can also add magnesium complex, because it plays an important role in maintaining normal blood pressure and also assisting with proper sugar metabolism. So if you are pre-diabetic, then it can help you to resolve that. Of course, if you have a familial history of diabetes, you should already be thinking about adding botanical balance as part of your regular supplementation. So I see that my time is up. I want to thank you very much for having spent the time and the data to join tonight's training. I hope that you have found this session useful to you on your personal capacity, but also for your circle of influence, as well as to help those who come to you for assistance. So just to say that we have got a Q&A coming up next Thursday, in which we are going to proceed with some of the questions that came about cardiovascular issues, as well as other issues. So I want to wish you a good night and an excellent ending to the month of February, which is we are about to be in the midst of month end things next week. So I know we are very busy, but I want to wish you all the best as I hand you over to Pascal to take you through the next half of tonight's session. So Pascal, if you're ready, I think you can take it away.
Thank you very much, Betty. I see there are lots of questions in the chat. I think they are going to be dealt with next